Welcome to a discussion of the presidential election in the year 2012, the year of transformation according to the Mayan calendar, so we're looking at what could be a whole new world. In the United States, the presidential election is held every 4 years according to Article 2 of the United States Constitution dealing with the executive branch of the United States. It promises to be an exciting election. The basic idea of the American presidential election was originally to be held by democratic vote of the electors in the United States, according to the United States Constitution. These electors were chosen to be the most intelligent, knowledgeable people of the United States, and was basically dependent upon the philosophy that the most educated should rule. So this is a bit of a contrast to the idea we have of America as a democracy, and so the Electoral College plays a big part of that idea of America as a republic and not as a democracy. However, America's love of the idea of the preamble of the Constitution, which states "we the people," can best be seen by looking at the election of Barack Obama, the first African-American president in the history of the United States, running under the Democratic Party platform. Obama had very little experience as a legislator, and he actually did not win any of the states in the Deep South aside from the state of Florida, which I'm actually a resident. Florida was the only state he won in the Deep South, but in order to balance the Democratic Party ticket, Obama chose the former chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee and longtime senator from Delaware, Joe Biden, who the president has tried to put on a little bit of a leash since he's been known to make a few gaffes in public speaking, but nevertheless still a highly intelligent legislator previously. Both are authorities on the United States Constitution. On the Republican side, facing the incumbents, are four particular candidates for the Republican Party: Mitt Romney, a famous businessman and former governor of the liberal state of Massachusetts. Romney, there's some question as to how much of a conservative he is, but he tends to emphasize his background as a businessman. Rick Santorum doesn't have quite the same amount of money that Mitt Romney has, but he tends to be wooing the Christian vote. He seems to be in second place for the required number of delegates necessary to win the Republican primary and the nomination at the Republican Party convention. 1,144 votes are needed to be elected by the Republican Party to represent their party. Romney is closing in on 500 votes right now from the Republican delegates to the convention. Third after Romney and Santorum, who I jokingly call Sanatorium. Of course, I have to admit that I tend to make fun of most of the candidates because they all are interesting, dynamic characters who have their faults and their pluses as well. Newt Gingrich likes to claim that he was Ronald Reagan's right-hand man, although he was only mentioned once in Reagan's autobiography. But Gingrich seems to be probably the most conservative of all of the four Republican candidates. And then running fourth behind those three men, Romney, Santorum, and Newt Gingrich, is Ron Paul, who is really a libertarian and against all American occupation of and bases of military strength placed by the United States and other countries. So he would like to decrease the budget greatly by decreasing America's military strength outside the United States. The 2012 presidential election will be decided based on the Electoral College, which is the way how which is the way you are elected president in the United States, you need 270 electoral votes to become president of the United States. So when the Republican candidate, whoever that might be, looks like it'll probably be Romney, will face Barack Obama in 2012, the incumbent generally has an advantage. The incumbent Obama came into office claiming to decrease the federal deficit, which had, by President Bush II, never been as large as it had been previous to that time. However, Obama has not done a very good job at decreasing the deficit, increasing it himself, and so that is a major issue for Republicans trying to stand behind the balanced budget and decreasing the federal deficit, basically spending more money than they're taking in. So that's a major issue in the 2012 election. It's a very close race right now. The green areas you see are ones that are up in the air. My state of Florida, again, will be a pivotal turning point in the election, just as it was in 2008, and as it was in the year 2000 in the contested Bush II and Gore election, which was decided by the Supreme Court. For the year 2012, the presidential election will be decided, obviously, on the basis of issues for a lot of people, as well as personality. Obama spent more than any other candidate in history for the presidency. We'll have to wait and see if Romney's vast wealth will supersede and pass the amount of money spent by the president himself. But as of 2012, this February 2012 USA Today Gallup poll, Gallup, one of the most famous polls in the United States, came up with the following sample of American voters, finding that most people were interested, above all, in the economy, unemployment being a major issue, the federal budget deficit also important. The health care law passed in 2010, called by Republican opposition candidates as Obamacare, is forcing Americans to have to take the health care plan offered by the United States government if you do not have health insurance. Some people on the Republican side are claiming this is state socialized medicine. The fact of the matter is, really, in the end, it's really not socialized medicine, because it is really only increasing the insurance company's amount of profit, because they're going to obviously increase the cost which they offer their insurance to American citizens. So, and also some Republican opposition figures have also accused Obama of being a socialist, but he has helped General Motors and other corporations to try to succeed, and he has shown that he has caved into capitalist interests, including the healthcare bill of 2008, which is something that Romney, some of his own opponents in the Republican Party are claiming he modeled very similar to Obama's healthcare plan itself. Other issues besides healthcare include terrorism and national security. Obama will capitalize on having killed Osama bin Laden, the #1 terrorist in the world. The gap between the rich and poor is important, but taxes is important to everybody, whether it's the wealthy who believe that by investing in corporations and allowing capital gains taxes to be very low, that will stimulate the economy. Democrats tend to believe that that money will not get down to the working people and the poor. We have the largest number of poor in the United States and former working or upper class people who have been forced into food stamps. Immigration is a big issue, especially along the border with Mexico. Gay marriage and abortion is also another issue conservatives are raising, especially with regard recently to the contraception issue, which Obama has pushed himself. So in the end, though, it's going to be you who decides the election of 2012, because it's your votes which independently decide who will win the entire number of electoral votes in your state. There are a couple of exceptions, but most of the states do follow that electoral college plan. A couple of states do allow you to tabulate the votes based on a county. But for the most part, it's an electoral college system set up to balance the power of the democracy along with the idea of the educated deciding through the electoral college. But again, now the number of votes that you get is dependent upon who wins the popular vote in the state. And so it is connected to democracy, but the elector for the state is chosen for that position, dependent upon their wisdom, but they have always acceded to the will of the people, and it would be interesting to see what would happen if they did not. It has never happened yet. So that's the state of the election in 2012, a brief overview of America's turning point, its year of transformation in 2012. Make it a great year, and remember to vote in the presidential election of 2012. And, you know, the presidency is only one aspect of the balance of power in the government, the presidency being the chief executive's office, the legislative office, which makes the laws, the legislature, Congress, will be something we'll examine in another portion of these discussions of the year 2012 for American history and American politics. Thanks for listening. Tune in next time.